And speaking of all good things, we have two sound men of our own here in the studio, Liam Brosnan and John Kennedy, and they're going to be looking back over all 8 games, absolutely 8 games, not of football. Well, lads, it's great to be back. The last time we were together, of course, Sam was coming home and we were admiring all the unity amongst the players, and now that they've all been sent back to their tribes, they're told to do battle for their parishes. And each Monday night, of course, after each of the rounds, we'll have the boys inside here and they'll be marking your cards ahead of the next round of games as well. Lads, 8 games, 7 wins, a draw, a big win for Dingle. East Kerry put up a big score without David Clifford, of course, and Austin Staxey off their neighbours, Nagale. Just some of the highlights over the weekend. Before we get into the stuff, Liam, welcome back. Obviously you're looking fine and fit and championship ready. A highlight over the weekend for you, something that you spotted that said, yeah, do you know, that's good, that was a good performance, something, because the background to this is that at the end of our championship we're going to put the 15 top highlights in, and we're going to leave our friends here who listen to Radio Kerry pick one. So you're going to get to pick one, John's going to pick one, I'm going to throw one in as well, and we'll have 15 by the end of the 5 rounds, and who knows, you know, your one might even win, you never know.
Well, I suppose, look, from a game that probably was fairly one-sided, one of the games, probably the only game that was really one-sided was Dingle and Spa. I suppose when you look through the scores, you had the 4 Gainies, you know, their cousins and the whole lot. They had 3-7 between the 4 of them. So I think that's worth to mention after this weekend. I think as we call it, the Gainey show between Dingle and Spa. Yeah,
no show like a Gainey show.
No show like a Gainey show, and they put on a show the weekend.
Absolutely, and we'll talk about that show, of course, later on. Yeah, absolutely. You're going to go strong for the Dingle vote already. Fair play, John Kennedy. Something that stood out over the weekend for you from the 8 games.
I suppose, Donal, before there was a ball kicked in the championship, people were talking about East Kerry, and the signs are ominous, as they say. What a demolition job the weekend without David Clifford. Going to be very difficult to beat. Fantastic performance, and against, you know, a Kernsrally side missing a few lads that have gone away, but at the same time seasoned campaigners, so a huge victory for them, and they've sent out the warning signs already, just with 1 game gone in the championship. Fantastic performance by East Kerry.
Jesus, you're going to get some votes with 10 clubs inside in East Kerry for your highlight. I'm going to go for one as well. I'm going to go a small bit left field, and I'm going to mention Martin Stack, Field Rangers. I think of all the performances throughout the weekend, we're going to talk about inter-county players and fellas kind of stepping up to the mark, and fellas that we haven't heard before either. But I mean, he scored 11 points, 8 from play. That's a fantastic achievement. And you know, it's funny how things go. We were talking last week that Field Rangers might even struggle in the championship. They're top of their table already with the draw, of course, with South Kerry. So Martin Stack, if you're out there from my van and Field Rangers and the whole lot, we'll put you in there as well. So you'll be 3 of the 15. So the gain is the whole of East Kerry and Martin Stack on his own. Jesus, Martin, I hope you have a lot of votes out there. Now, let's go back to the rounds. 4 groups. I suppose it's different this year. I suppose it's exciting as Champions League. We were here tonight, the draws were being made. We were looking for a bit of reaction. It's amazing how fast it kind of comes around again. Liam, Group 1, it's a group with Kinmare Shamrocks and Shannon Rangers, of course. And it's also got Dr. Crokes and St. Kieran's. Talk to us about the games, I suppose, in general. I suppose we would have probably predicted that Kinmare and Dr. Crokes would probably come out on top. Those games panned out the way they should have had? They
did, Donal, and the St. Kieran's performances probably just like a district team, really. You know, the first game, bit rustiness. When they drew Crokes, we were all kind of saying, look, we never feared Crokes, because I suppose, look, there's a lot of East Kerry teams in St. Kieran's, and we'd be used to playing each other down through the years. But and Crokes always got nothing easy from a St. Kieran's team. But I suppose the weekend, they probably, even though the score doesn't show it, it probably was a lot easier. I think Sean O'Keewan had a fantastic game, and goals could have been a lot worse. But look, this Crokes team seems to be a team that's rebuilding. There's a lot of young guys there. You know, Mark Fitz, Niall O'Shea, you know, Keane McMahon, who really stood out. I think he's one for the future. You throw in the likes of Tony Brosnan. They were able to bring in Dahi Casey off the bench, then, and Kieran O'Leary. You know, so Crokes aren't gone anywhere really. They kicked 2-14, and there's probably a little bit more in them. And maybe with 1 or 2 fellas coming back from injury. I know their 2 main boys, they're saying they're gone for the year, Michal Burns and Gavin, which are huge losses for them. But there's a lot of teams out there in the same predicament, you know, but it just gives an opportunity for another guy to step up, and I think the younger guys step up to the plate, like Mike Potts had I don't know, he was a guy that I think, John, we've been watching down through the years, and I think the weekend was probably one of his better games that we've seen in a long time. So that's a bonus for Crokes. So yeah, Kieran's. I suppose when you're playing in the lower divisions as well, I think when you look at district teams, I think when it comes to championship and at vital points, I think it's very important for teams if you'll see the club players that are playing high division and county leagues, because they're just that little bit quicker, and I think Kieran's probably the next game will probably be that little bit better. Yeah.
Speaking of a guy that was a little bit quicker, John, you were at the game in Clarny, Kilmere and Shannon Rangers. If you had taken Stephen O'Brien out of it, Shannon Rangers were well in this game.
Yeah, Donal, and you spoke about Martin Stack and Field Rangers, great victory for them. A lot of negativity about North Kerry football over the last number of years. Field Rangers, great victory, played very well. A lot of good work done by the lads. But the Shannon Rangers team, a checkered build-up to it, being honest with you now, wondering. But, it shows the pride that's in the jersey. We had 3 of our own lads there, Owen Tidens in goals, and Martin Collins and Derek Keane. And I know from talking to him last night, the disappointment of not winning, but the satisfaction of performing, rubbing shoulders with the best. Robert Stack, another man that impressed the young fella, the Foleys. It was a great performance. With 12 or 15 minutes to go, Rangers were 2 points up. But the experience then, particularly Stephen O'Brien, as you said, Danny Rinn had been doing well on him. But Stephen, he really rose to the occasion.
He scored some super points.
Super points. And, I don't care who was on him. They'd find it difficult to mark him. We're great admirers of him, Liam and myself. He's a fierce work rate. But yesterday, he finished off 5 points from play. But, we'll question the standard maybe. But for competitiveness and for endeavour, and really never say die attitude, you'll be very proud being a Shannon Rangers man, being honest with you. But obviously, Kilmare got over the line. But, it shows that there's a lot of people talking about joining up Shannon Rangers and Field Rangers. Maybe did the message come out the weekend that we want to keep our own identity and keep working away? Yeah. And on the evidence of what we saw, fair play to them. And, great credit to Martin Mahoney and Kevin Welsh and Cathal O'Connor, because they were under a lot of pressure, a lot of players missing. They circled the wagons, and they certainly put pride back into the jersey, even though we lost.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was pride, I suppose, in all fairness. I mean, we were watching the game. I mean, Kilmere were kind of motoring away in the first gear, 4 points to 2, 5 points to 2. Came out in the second half, they got the penalty, they got the point, they went ahead. And I suppose maybe they didn't have enough experience, I suppose, at playing at a higher level to kind of to push the thing on. But they certainly didn't surrender.
No, they didn't surrender. And one of the highlights, I was sitting with a few lads from Kinmare and Timplenoe and Jason Foley and Shawnee Shea.
That's right.
It rolled back the years we're teammates, we're friends. But I can tell you, for that 60 minutes,
that's the white line.
I want to mark you.
Yeah.
And Foley, in fairness to him, he did a tremendous job on one of the best footballers in the country and kept him scoreless in play.
And the other thing, and that Donal, is that if you bring Knock Kerry together, which we probably will see eventually, would the Johns Ashdees boys, would they have made the Knock Kerry team if there was one team? So it's given opportunities to guys to play county championship. They can always say they play county championship. So that's something that probably have to be thought of when everything is put into the mixing bowl as well.
Yeah.
That there is guys out there that.
We were working it out that earlier that there was 270 players played county championship at the weekend in all the teams coming on as subs and all that. 3 of them were from SD. But they wouldn't get the chance.
No, absolutely.
If they got diluted into it.
Absolutely. And I think, Donal, it's not a night for talking about amalgamations and stuff at whatever level you're at, but you get the best out of what you have yourself. You keep that jersey on your back and you represent your own people. You're diluting that when you join up. And we've had great success at minors, under 17s with North Kerry. Fantastic victory. But I think maybe because of numbers that had to happen, there's plenty of numbers at senior level, is getting the good people involved, and I think there was progress made the weekend. Yeah. Great victory for the field. And, Shannon Rangers came out with their heads high, and it moves on to the next round now.
And they go back to a club then with a spring in their step, so it's... Yeah.
Well, talk about big numbers now. I suppose you were on about big numbers. Dingle 410. That's a decent score, Liam, and of course it is one of your highlights already. I wouldn't have been surprised either way had Spa won that game or Dingle won that game. I am surprised at the score.
Yeah. I think we're all surprised with that score because they've met in the club and it went the other way. And it was we always thought it was going to be close, but it was probably close up to the 40th minute, and then Dingle usually do what Dingle can do. They can get goals. And I was on the thing of that a couple of years ago when I was a selector with St. Kieran's. Paul Ganey had 3 goals gone in 5 minutes, and that was game over. And they did the same thing yesterday. And it was the Ganey show, but when you look at Dingle, they have Barry Sullivan, Matthew Flaherty, Tom Sullivan, Tom Leo, these guys, when they click.
Have Dingle underachieved? Have they been the most underachieving club in the last number of years?
Oh, they have, with the players they have, and with everything, and they have a fantastic structure, and their management teams and their selectors, the whole lot, they know the football, but they just seem to, on the kind of the big occasion, maybe slip a small bit, or leading up to a big occasion, maybe a semi-final or a quarter-final, they seem to. But I think, look, with the players they have, and with this will probably kick them on now. Probably not a great club championship, but I think this win against Spa might put them into a front runner now.
They've done enough in the club championship not to worry about relegation, so now they can have one run.
You look at the club teams that are in it. Crokes are kind of rebuilding, and Rallies are missing a couple of players. And so Dingle are probably looking at it and saying, we can give this a right shot. Everyone's talking about East Kerry, but you put East Kerry aside, you can worry about them when you draw them.
Yeah.
But I think clubs should be kind of driving on. I think you could see that now the weekend. Dingle are kind of in championship mode now at the moment.
And of course, Dingle and East Kerry have plenty old friends there, games and rivalries. The other game, that group, obviously, John, East Kerry and Kieran Rahilly's. A huge scoreline in the end. But then again, Kieran Rahilly's, no Tommy Walsh, no Jack Savage. I mean, you really are taking two you're taking two really strong people out of that. East Kerry, of course, with no David Clifford. But again, it's a monster of a score, isn't it?
Oh, it's a monster of a score, and you see the players. I suppose Rory Murphy was one of the guys that stood out at the weekend from this try. 1-5. James O'Donoghue 1-4. Superb goal. It's their overall strength and depth. Paddy Clifford kicking 4 points, the usual work rate. They set down a marker at the weekend. I don't think it says how bad Cairns Rahilly's were. It says how superior East Kerry are.
Cairns Rahilly's weren't that bad. They did play well. David Moore, I thought, had an outstanding game inside. He scored 2 points. They were competitive, but they were just outgunned.
They were outgunned, and sometimes there's no shame in defeat. As you said, David Morton did very well. A lot of their players played well, but it's just the power of East Kerry, and it's they're there to be beaten. Is there somebody there to beat them? On the evidence of this, whoever beats them will win the county championship.
Surprisingly enough, everybody talks about East Kerry. We kind of never talk about Legion, but Legion have given them a lot of glue now. Jonathan Lyon, you have Gamble. They could put the goalkeeper Brian Kelly in goal and put Ryan up the field, and of course you have James O'Donoghue, who's he's a hard man to mark at any level, but when you have to mark 6 marquee forwards and he's just one of those 6, most club teams and most divisional teams won't have players up to that level.
Not at all. And like Legion were a very good senior club. They just got caught. They went down to intermediate. They're one of the favourites to win the intermediate. But look, when you put 4 or 5 of those guys into any team, the signs are honestly, in fairness, they're superb footballers in their own right. Inter-county experience. James Johnson Lyon, Keane Gamble, Brian Kelly in goals. These are all guys that have been there and done that on the biggest day of all.
Yeah.
And they're a huge addition to East Kerry. It's to continue that on. And Jerry O'Sullivan and the lads will have been disappointed maybe with last year. They're the forum team this year.
Liam, it's gas East Kerry last year. They only scored 1-5 in the championship.
That's right, yeah. and I do think losing Spa was a big, I think Spa had maybe 9 or 10 players out of the panel.
Yeah.
That left, so they lost that bit of glue that they were on about there. But Legion are after offering them something now this year, all right. And I think there's a bit of a bite there now as well to.
Everybody's talking about Rory Murphy. Every headline, Rory Murphy. I know him as a fantastic basketballer. I presume the Clarkin boys behind are saying, oh my God, we're probably going to miss him again for the Super League if he was ever going there in the first place, himself and Sean O'Brien. 1-5 though, from play. A player that nobody kind of really spoke about before, and everybody kind of knows he's at a good level. He's under 20, of course. Is he one that Jack might be?
Oh, without a doubt, and I think he was on the radar really after the under 20 final. He got man of the match in the under 20 county championship final. He's big, he's athletic, he can score as he proved the weekend. Without a doubt, he'll be on Jack's radar. He mightn't. I don't like saying he mightn't feature, because there seems to be a thing now where you have to kind of blood him in a small bit in training and stuff like that. But he's a guy that has the ability, like David Clifford and these guys, that could fit into a team very nicely because he has the football and he's a big strong man as well.
Yeah, William Harmer now, John. I suppose when the group stage came, he probably would have said maybe. I mean, William's very positive. He probably said he would win all 3 games. But the reality is that the next 2 games are winnable for Rahilly's to get out of it. I mean, East Kerry is a game that you probably would have said, probably not going to win it, or we'll do the best we can. Maybe we hold something back. How important is the next game now for Rahilly's?
It's crucial. It's keeping them in the championship. It's a win or take all. They have to win that game. They have to win it. And like you said a few minutes ago there, they did a lot of things right. They came up against a very good side, to repeat it again. But, it'll be easy to get those lads going. And, the next game, that's the beauty about it. You have 3 matches. And, if it was before, you were going into losers round, difficult. But now you have 2 more games. If you win the second game, having lost the first, the third game is a huge game then. So they have to win it, And I think it's very important that they do. And William Armour, as an experienced campaigner, has done a great job with them. And this next week will be very important for Rahilly's to get back on track and get a victory.
The only thing, Donal, do Rahilly's and Temple now have they one eye on some other competition? Is it something that's...
No, Liam, stop, behave yourself, will you? Listen, get your comments into us, 066 712 3666, or text us on 083 300 3300, and we'll be discussing Group 3 and 4 with Liam and John after this break. Welcome back to Terrace Talk, Donal Barry, and we're discussing all the championship games, of course, over the weekend. Plenty of scores. We've done 2 groups, we've 2 more to go. Donal, comment in there. Donal, can you please explain why Kerry J did not tweet score updates for any of the games during the week? I think this is beyond awful for supporters. I know they stream 2 games live, and I understand that maybe you don't tweet these scores for, but the other 6 games, this is surely basic. I could not find any details at all on the Mid-Kerry game. Well, listen, we'll discuss the Mid-Kerry game there for you. It is something that's come up. There's a couple of comments in on that, tweeting the score lines, and I suppose it does kind of keep people there. John, just off the record, to say, off the point.
We won't tell anyone.
No, we won't tell anyone. Off the point on that one. Attendances at the games, they're not massive, are they?
No, very disappointing. Particularly I thought the game on Friday night, Donal. Even yesterday in Fitzgerald Stadium again, but Friday night, it was for a Tralee derby. It was very slack.
It was set up for under lights Friday night after work. 2 teams in the town. I mean, the history of the one team, and I suppose the other team creating their own bit of history. Maybe because it was streamed, maybe did that take some away?
Or is it the fact that you have a group of 4, there's 3 matches, it's not knockout.
It's not knockout,
coming in today, I'm not so sure. But, the crowds overall were small by comparison to what we'd expect from a championship match.
Absolutely. Well, look, seeing that you were part of that small crowd, we might discuss that group. Nagale started off 100 miles an hour. Nagale, I mean, after the first couple of minutes, you were saying, there's a game on here. But I suppose as the game went on, Austin Stacks were inevitable, that little bit better. They were champions, they were winners. They could even bring Kieran Donaghy off the bench with 10 minutes to go. They had forwards that could score. Did I read a stat there from Paul Brennan, the Kerryman or something, after the report, where 4 Stacks forwards scored 9 points and no actual Nagale forward scored an actual white flag point. Yeah, so I mean, like on that, I mean, that's the balance. So what was your take on the game?
I think Stack showed their experience. As you said, Nagale were very organised. They started well, got the goal, and they certainly came out of the traps flying. But the experience, I was looking down at, with Liam, we were looking down at the Stack's management team. They didn't panic. They just got into the game, and I think crucially Shane Callahan and David Mannix played a huge role for them. I think particularly Shane O'Callaghan, he took a fantastic point before half time. You could actually see, like, it knocked the wind out of the sails in a gale, but you could see the confidence growing in the Stacks. Mannix kicked some great scores. Kieran Donaghy came on, showed his experience. When they needed a score to settle things in the last couple of minutes, he won a great ball, popped it off, I think, to David Mannix, put it over the bar. I suppose the big talking point out of it was the injury to Joe O'Connor.
Yeah.
And look, I suppose from everyone in the county and from ourselves, we're hoping this is not serious.
Of course, yeah.
Because it's a big year for Joe as well. He's made his mark last year to kick on now, and an injury like that, what looks like a serious injury, we hope it isn't. And look, we wish him a speedy recovery and to see him back in the playing fields again soon, because regardless what club they're from, we don't want to see any player losing out because of a serious injury.
Of course,
and I think Jack O'Shea at centre back, he went off injured as well. Maybe not as serious, hopefully. But Stacks got over the line. They'll be happy with that. But I suppose what happens down the road will depend on how serious their injuries are.
Liam, another team who I thought they were nearly over the line and back home in West Kerry. I mean, it was West Kerry against Mid Kerry. I mean, they ran up a massive lead. I mean, they were flying. Really looked at value for money. And then, of course, a bit of a Corriman, we'll call him, scored a bit.
We're calling him more than a Corriman now.
Of course, that's Kieran Dennehy from Beaufort. He's still claiming his Corra roots. Very important goal. It kind of brought Mid Kerry back into it, and there was only one team in the second half in that game.
It did, and I suppose, look, Friday night inside in Tralee, myself and John inside, we were hearing that West Kerry were after doing they were after putting a bit of an effort in, and we were saying this is a game that could go anywhere, anyway. And it kind of looked like that for a long time, because West Kerry got off to a fine start. They were up 1-8 to 4 points in the first half, and Mid Kerry in the second half was a kick 9 points to 1. So it was a game of two halves. Ian O'Connor kicked 6 points. So he was a guy actually I forgot about that was playing with Mid Kerry, because he was always down South Kerry. So he was a massive addition to him. Yeah, and Kieran Dennehy, who has really come on a lot. I think he'll be one guy to watch out for in the 20s this year. I saw him with Beaufort playing in the intermediate, and his movement, he's just like he's dead for the people out there who remember Pat Dennehy. Played corner forward for Kerry, a Corriman, of course, but also his uncles, Jack Dennehy and Dennis and the whole lot from very good footballers. So it's in the blood there. I know the mom will probably be giving out now, but it's definitely in him, and I think he's a guy that we'll be all watching now throughout the championship.
Fair play. He's a lot cleaner than a Corra player, though, isn't he?
I know, the Garveys Brow was nice, clean players. The forwards were anyway.
You wouldn't get too much off him. For West Kerry, I mean, how much of a setback is it? I mean, in their own heads, it's a game that they were in control of. I suppose, Liam, it's when you're up that much in a game and you lose a game, when you go off the field, do you feel kind of, oh God, we really threw that one away, or how is the feeling as a player?
Yeah, I suppose they will be disappointed, because that was a kind of a game that, especially when we're looking at the group, they'll be saying, right, this is probably playing for second position, because they'll be saying stacks will be the thing. So it kind of makes things awkward for them. But they should take a bit of heart out of it anyway, because we don't know it's either Nagale or Stacks in the next game. They'd be hoping if they could get over Nagale, and maybe going into the last game against Stacks, it's kind of would be winner take all. But it kind of keeps that group kind of one to watch, because West Kerry they're really after improving. They've a lot of good players. So the next two games that they're going to be playing will be very interesting.
Yeah, Mid Kerry kind of, they really have all pumps. I mean, every club Mid Kerry is with Mid Kerry. I mean. Yeah. This could be an outside bet. They could be a dark horse. They're well. So I mean, we'll say their goalkeeper as well. I mean, he had a fantastic game in Sean Coffey from Beaufort as well. And we're, of course, as we go through the year, we'll be picking out kind of players for players of the championship towards the end of the season. And of course, we'll be watching all these games. So I mean, I suppose it gives you an idea of how players are performing. But he certainly had an outstanding weekend in goal. And of course, then again, if you think about it, they only won by a couple of points. One of those went in. West Kerry had the game.
The one thing I always look at, Donal, it's like East Kerry, it's the clubs. The structures of the clubs. Where they are in the county leagues and stuff like that. And if you look at Mid Kerry, the Beauforts, the Lone Rangers, the Milltowns, the Glimbays, these guys, a lot of good footballers in them. And if you can gel them, you never know on any given day where they could end up.
Yeah. John, taking that point, and it's interesting, of course, Liam, looking at the clubs and the way they've gone up. South Kerry put out a team yesterday, and I'm a South Kerry man, and we were surrounded by a few more South Kerry men and a few Shan Rangers kind of supporters, and a big shout out as well to a couple of others around us that were there yesterday. But South Kerry their clubs got wiped out of the championship. I mean, they didn't. I mean, most of them are in relegation battles. Any club that did get out of the group lost the quarter-final. Renard lost to Tarbert, and the Drummond and the Marys ended up kind of surviving each other out as well. And Waterville are down there, and Steam Derrynane are down there. How in the name of God did South Kerry get a draw yesterday?
It's all about the preparation, Donal, and we've spoken already. Look about West Kerry and about Shannon Rangers, the way they improved from other years. South Kerry, great management team in place under Sean O'Sullivan. Ronan Hussey and Dennis Shine. They were very organised. We saw them in the warm-up. You get a great gauge of how things are going when you see a team warming up. Very professional. They were coming up against the Timplenoe team. They were favourites. And it looked, Donal, with maybe 8 or 10 minutes ago, as if it was over. And I think then, Matthew Sullivan came out around the middle of the field, and he's a huge man. He threw his weight around in many ways, but he kicked a super point from the far side from the stand.
It was some point.
And, you know, the reaction to the players towards it, like, and a man that caught my eye was Dylan Dunho, the corner forward.
Yeah, fabulous football.
He kicked super scores, in fairness, you know.
Yeah.
They were driven by Graham O'Sullivan in the middle of the field, Finan Clifford inside his full back. He had a tremendous battle with Killian Spillane. Yeah. And that's a man that deserves special praise, Killian Spillane.
I
thought he has improved his ball winning ability. For the goal alone, the way he was being double marked.
Yeah, Conor Shea was after him as well. I mean, there was two on him really all through. Conor picked up a yellow as well for his troubles with him. But yeah, I mean, he wanted to win ball as well.
He wanted to win ball, and he won ball independent. When he was inside in a cluster of players, his hands, he won it and pulled it down. He kicked scores.
Yeah. And he created the goal.
He created the goal, won it well, passed it off, and the cornerback, I think, finished it off. Was it Brian Crowley? Maybe a great finish, but. The turning point really was Killian Spillane, or was Adrian Spillane going off. Yeah. You know, maybe not. You wouldn't think he had a big influence in the game, but when he went off, we saw his loss, and also Sean Sheehan.
Yeah, Sean Sheehan went off with a shoulder injury. Yeah. They lost both midfielders very quickly. I mean, they were up 6 points. They lost both, so Kerry got back to 2. They got back to 1. Then it was pushed out to 2, and they came back. Yeah, it's a huge draw for South Kerry. They'll be delighted with it. Hi Donal, good to see both Field Rangers and Shannon Rangers putting good performances. Hopefully they can build on it. That's Charles. Surely the standout point of the weekend, really, the County Championship, was the lack of attendance at all matches. Could the admission fee be responsible? I think we discussed that, John, didn't we? I mean, it like Fitzgerald Stadium yesterday. It was kind of. I suppose it's very funny. Like, I suppose a lot of people that were there yesterday couldn't get tickets to the All-Ireland final.
That's right.
I'd love to know where all the other 30,000 Kerry fans were over the weekend, you know, because, you know, they seem to end up in Croke Park. But I mean, there seems to be kind of a divide there. But the one thing that I would say is that anybody that was there yesterday was a true supporter, a real supporter, very knowledgeable supporter. I mean, I sat down beside a couple of them and they could tell me who was who and who was where and how they were, and that's very important. The Sam Maguire visit to assist on Tuesday morning. And in Railsnamara National School First, where Jack O'Connor's son Keane is principal and carried by the pupils to the parish hall. It was an enjoyable occasion. Continued look to Kilmare Shamrocks and Temple our local club to assist, is celebrating 50 years on the 18th of November, and that's Dermot and Margaret Ann and to assist. And would you believe it, Dermot, Margaret Ann to assist? One of your players was playing with South Kerry yesterday, so you should be supporting them now as well, Dermot, back there. Hi Donal, East Kerry look very strong. Whatever happened to Owen Rua? Could the district not be split given their strength? Yeah, we might discuss that towards the end of it. Hi lads, Dr. Crokes are the ones to watch. Nothing else to play for now. East Kerry are the strong favourites, and don't rule out the Killarney men. Absolutely. I don't know, you can never rule out Dr. Crokes ever, could you, Liam? You know, they're a championship side, aren't they? You know, they can win games and they want
to. Any given day, anyone can, if they believe they can do it, and the players are there. Yeah. And
the final comment, well done. I'm seriously worried about the future of Austin Stacks. Did not impress me at the weekend and facing into a relegation game against Kilmare. We tend to forget it, don't we? I mean, they are the champions, but I mean, no matter, unless they get to the final, they're going to be facing off Kilmare, and one of them could be relegated. One of them will be relegated, obviously. But can you answer me this? Stacks would go to Brendan's board if they were relegated. Dear God, themselves and Mitchells and the rest of them. Yeah, my answer would be, I would imagine, yes. But if Kilmare are relegated, will they play with East Kerry Juggernaut or South Kerry? Tom and Listowel, very valid points. Tom, I know
they go back into Kilmare.
They go back in, yeah. The Kilmare district will be resurrected, Tom. So don't worry. They won't be going to they won't be going to East Kerry, and our South Kerry is an awful long spin over there from Kilmare, Tom. But fair play to you, Tom. You comment in every week, and it is actually a very good question, lads. The other game in that group, Field Rangers topping it. Field Rangers were surprised, weren't they, Liam?
They were, and I suppose the surprise for me was probably your highlight was this Martin Stack.
Yeah.
I know John might tell you more about him, but he came out of the blue. Did he end up top scorer of the weekend? 11 points.
11 points.
11 points. Great kicking in a county championship match. I suppose St. Brendan's gone into it without the Nagale players. We said it at the start. They were going to struggle, but look, they battled hard. They had 8 scorers on the sheet. So. They'll probably be looking forward to the next game to see what way they really are. But Field Rangers seem to be a team to probably that they'd be happy with what after this win, even though it was only a 2-point win at the same time. But
the manner of the win. Now Brendan's obviously, John. I mean, like they were making a right gallop, improving every year on the back of Nagale. I mean, they were missing 8 Nigel starters from last year. Like, no real team can sustain that many players as a loss. Now, you are building it up with other clubs, and Dahi Griffin was captain, and delighted to see him captain. He's a fine footballer with Ardfert, and Donal Rooney is doing a massive job. I mean, it would have been easy to kind of maybe pull down the flag and pack the bag and head away. You know, he didn't. He stood his ground, and there's a lot of football to be played in 2 more games as well. St. Brendan's, you know, I mean, they look across. I mean, Temple kind of like, well, you know, at the start they were flying. Now with the draw, people are asking questions and whatnot. It's not done for Brendan's yet, though, is it?
No, it's not done for Brendan's yet. You know, there's great characters in that team, and they have great footballers. A huge blow for Nigel to be gone. You know, 7 or 8, and you're talking about 2 or 3 county players taking them out of that. That's a huge
backbone of a team.
It's the backbone of a team. But you know, it didn't surprise me with Field Rangers, Donal, coming back to them. When you see their management team on paper, Billy Lee is involved in there, you know, Indy Gallivan and John James Buckley, you know, guys that have been there and done that, they know all about preparing the team.
They're real championship people, aren't they?
They're championship people. And, you know, Martin Stack, he might be, people will be asking who is he today, but I'll tell you, when you're out in Arkerry, you know Martin Stack, he's a left leg as good as anybody in the country. If he gets the ball on that, it's a white flag. And he missed out in my van there for a year or 2, but they have a sprinkling of former Kerry minors involved in that as well. You know, Niall Collins, like, and Brian Sweeney, you know, and they're Jamie McVeigh. These are all very good footballers. They've given youth its fling, and they've win. Now, it's only 1 victory. Nobody will get carried away. But what a start. What a confidence to be going back training this week after winning a game in the county championship.
The next game will probably tell us a lot about Field Rangers.
The next game will tell us a lot. Yeah. And, you know, we're looking for players to come out of it. And, you know, we spoke about Ronnie Murphy a while ago, and we're talking about Martin Stack. This is what the county championship was and should be, is about new players coming on, and can they do it consistently.
Absolutely. And it does throw players, you know, I mean, I suppose the other side of the coin is that he's going to be well marked in the next game anyway, wherever he goes out with his left leg. John has given it all away on his poor My Van buddy up there. Lads, a couple of players that stood out, and I suppose normally we would go down the Kerry players and they played well and whatnot. Leave them aside. Liam, give me a couple of players who are maybe on the fringes of the Kerry panel, or fellas that kind of stood out, or fellas just had good games. You know, they might never be anywhere near the standard, but I mean, they had good championship games. Give the listeners a couple of names out there.
Yeah, just the Nigel guy that kind of...
And not fellas now that have current mothers or fathers or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll start off with a non-curra fella. So, but Jack Sheehan from Nigel, I thought he looked very busy the last day inside corner forward. He got the goal from. Yeah. You know, he was the guy that took the eye. Obviously, you know, we would be kind of looking at guys for the Kerry jersey then as well. And you know, I thought like young Kieran Dennehy and Rory Murphy, they are definitely 2 guys that we'll see in a green and gold. Probably one with 20s and one with the seniors. As the time goes on, and Dr.
Don't be robbing all John's homework now. Just
one more thing, Dr. Crooks. I think, look, we've seen him for underage. We've watched him with schools and stuff like that. I think Keane McMahon, and you know, there's a guy that was injured last day. I think I have a good time for him. Is Mark O'Shea. I think these are guys. They're young guys that, you know, they'll be very interested to watch their development.
Another basketballer.
Another basketballer. Like I'd say, well, Keane's sister's probably a better basketballer.
She's an international. Keane's good as well. Mark O'Shea basketball, Rory Murphy basketball. Yeah.
So it does help.
It does help, absolutely. John, any non-basketballers out there that played well at the weekend?
One of the displays the weekend was Sean Coffey, the mid-Kerry keeper. Yeah. You know, he probably kept his team, got the victory for him because
he made 2 or 3 fantastic saves.
Absolutely. I thought Patrick Clifford, the wing back for Temple yesterday.
Yes.
His athleticism.
Absolutely.
Attacking.
He's got fierce speed, hasn't he?
Fierce speed. Yeah. Got an injury a few years ago, I think a shoulder injury. Yeah. He was impressing at that stage. Maybe he was on the Kerry panel around that time. But a fantastic footballer. You know, one of the oldest, James O'Donoghue. What a display at the weekend again. Yeah. You know, I thought Dylan O'Donoghue, corner forward from Drummond.
And his other Drummond buddy, I think played very well. Shane O'Connor, number 4 for South Kerry. I mean, he's something like Patrick Clifford, you know. Plenty speed, you know, and good ball retention, and that game, I suppose we'll just go back to that game quickly. I mean, there was some fantastic scores kicked in it. I mean, it seemed to be a game that was only played in first gear for long enough, and then but the score taking was super.
Oh, there were super points, and as we mentioned already, Matthew O'Sullivan's fantastic score. I think Dylan O'Donoghue kicked 5 points. You know, Darragh O'Sullivan kicked 2 from the other corner. But you know, some fantastic individual performances. But overall, you know. That game in particular, South Kerry were dead and gone. It shows the spirit this built up with a divisional team that were 6 points down. They never said their attitude. They came back and, got a worthy draw in the end.
Yeah, coming up after the break, of course, we have Christy Connell joining us, and of course he'll talk South Kerry first. Two comments quickly though that we'll read, and I have one burning question that I have to ask. John gave the questions, so I have to ask it. Donal, Kerry J have demanded all tickets are online due to safety concerns. Why is this that programmes are charged for cash? Surely this makes no sense. I don't think the programmes were charged for cash, to be honest with you. I definitely online, the tickets are online, and I met a few people yesterday. I suppose that debate is going to fall both ways. A lot of people telling me that they're 70 plus, they're widowers, they don't have access. Just going online is a bit of a nightmare for them. Maybe they can introduce maybe a tap thing at the gate, maybe going forward or whatever. But I do know my good buddy Thomas Kane, he certainly did have a bit of leeway with people coming in over the weekend for cash, but they're certainly going major on the line. Donal, it was great to see you in the crowd yesterday. It was easy to see you in the crowd yesterday, he says. Were you the only person sitting at the back? Yeah, absolutely. The crowd was tidy enough. We let you have that one. Donal, what a great show last week was. I really enjoyed listening to North Kerry Rangers players. What great young men we have. Do you think the older men of North Kerry might see a way in becoming one as well and finally push on, or does the panel think it would make no difference whatsoever? Oh my God, John. We kind of half answered that one, so we won't go into that debate because we're running out of time. The burning question was Garth worth it, Liam?
Garth was good, Donal.
Good,
yeah. And I think that's where all the 80,000 people were for the 3 nights.
I think there was probably an awful lot.
There was a lot of Kerry people up there Saturday night anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I met a guy yesterday and he says, for the fright of Christ, he says that Garth Brooks was going to be in Croke Park 5 times this year and he couldn't get a ticket to the All-Ireland. Lads, we'll take a break.